Look at it. The golden age of Hollywood, the parties, the stars, the glamour, the dream. Every film you have ever loved, every star you have ever worshipped, every premiere, every red carpet, every perfectly lit close-up that made you believe in magic. Someone else was running the show, and they weren't producers. Prohibition ends. For 13 years, the American mob had made its fortune selling illegal alcohol. Now, that was over. The money was gone, and the most powerful criminal organization in American history needed a new business model. Lucky Luciano, the most powerful mob boss in America, looked west. Los Angeles, sunshine, movies, money. A city growing faster than anyone could control. He sent his best man, Benjamin Siegel, known to his enemies as Bugsy, though nobody called him that to his face, if they wanted to keep their teeth. Siegel was not what you pictured when you thought of a mobster. He was tall, handsome, immaculately dressed. He moved through a room like a movie star, which was exactly the point. The crime syndicate gave him $500,000 and one instruction: take Los Angeles. He arrived in Beverly Hills and immediately did something no mobster had done before. He walked into Hollywood. Not to rob it, not to threaten it, to charm it. Within months, Bugsy Siegel was one of the most sought-after dinner guests in Hollywood. Cary Grant, Clark Gable, Jean Harlow, George Raft, the actor famous for playing gangsters, who had grown up with Siegel on the streets of Brooklyn. They all knew what he was. They all invited him back. And with Siegel came his shadow, Mickey Cohen. 5'5", 160 pounds of barely contained violence. A former professional boxer from Brooklyn who had arrived in Las Vegas, Siegel's bodyguard, and quickly became his most essential weapon. Where Siegel charmed, Cohen threatened. Where Siegel smiled, Cohen hit. Together, they built an empire. Gambling, prostitution, narcotics, bookmaking operations generating what would today be $50 million a year. Los Angeles was theirs. But the real prize, the one that would give them power over everything, was still ahead. In 1934, the mob made its most audacious move. They took over a union. Not just any union, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, the union that represented every single worker on every single Hollywood production. The cameramen, the stagehands, the electricians, the painters, the carpenters, every invisible person who made the dream factory run. The mob installed their own men at the top. Willie Beoff, a former pimp from Chicago. George Brown, a corrupt union official who understood exactly what was expected of him. The arrangement was elegant in its simplicity. The studios paid the mob. In return, no strikes, no disruptions, no labor problems. The workers got lower wages than they deserved. The studio bosses got labor peace. The mob got everything else. Louis B. Mayer paid. Jack Warner paid. Every major studio in Hollywood paid. Because the alternative was worse. In 1937, 6,000 Hollywood workers, scenic artists, makeup artists, draftsmen had had enough. They went on strike. They demanded to be free of mob control. IATSE responded by sending mob thugs to the picket lines, and the LAPD joined them. Workers were beaten on the streets of Hollywood. The strike collapsed, and the silence that followed was complete. The stars said nothing. The studio bosses said nothing. The newspapers, many of which depended on studio advertising, said very little. Everyone knew. Nobody talked. Here's something the history books get wrong. Bugsy Siegel did not invent the Flamingo Hotel. The Flamingo was the idea of Billy Wilkerson, a Los Angeles nightclub owner and the publisher of The Hollywood Reporter, one of the most powerful trade publications in the entertainment industry. Wilkerson had a vision: a luxury hotel casino in the desert outside Las Vegas, the most glamorous gambling destination in America. He also had a problem. He was a compulsive gambler. He was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars at other casinos. He was running out of money. So he made a deal with the devil. He brought in mob financing, and with mob financing came mob partners. And with mob partners came Bugsy Siegel, who took one look at Wilkerson's vision and saw something bigger than anyone had imagined. The Flamingo became Siegel's obsession, and obsessions are expensive. The construction costs spiraled, the budget doubled, then tripled. The mob's money was disappearing into the Nevada desert, and nobody could explain where it was going. In February 1947, the most powerful mob bosses in America met in Havana, Cuba. The agenda had one item: Bugsy Siegel. The suspicion was that he had been skimming, taking the mob's money for himself. And in the mob's world, there was no greater crime. A decision was made. On the evening of June 20th, 1947, Benjamin Siegel was sitting in the living room of his girlfriend Virginia Hill's rented home in Beverly Hills. He was reading the Los Angeles Times. Someone outside the window raised a rifle. 4 shots, 2 in the head. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was dead at 41 years old. The murder has never been officially solved. Hours after his death, mob associates walked into the Flamingo Hotel and took control. Just like that. With Siegel gone, someone had to run Los Angeles. Mickey Cohen stepped forward. He drove a custom armored Cadillac with bulletproof windows. He survived a bomb planted at his Brentwood home in 1950. He survived being shot outside a restaurant on the Sunset Strip in 1949. He was, by this point, more famous than most of the movie stars he associated with. Over 1,000 front-page stories in Los Angeles newspapers. Here is something almost nobody knows. Mickey Cohen hired a private etiquette tutor. The former professional boxer from Brooklyn, the man who had once fired 2 guns into a hotel ceiling looking for Bugsy Siegel's killers, wanted to learn which fork to use at dinner. He wanted to fit in. And fit in he did. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, Sammy Davis Jr., Robert Mitchum. They all knew Mickey Cohen. They all socialized with Mickey Cohen. In his autobiography, Cohen was remarkably candid about all of it. He even admitted that Siegel's assassination had been his big break. And then there was Lana Turner, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Beautiful, beloved, seemingly untouchable. Her boyfriend in the late 1950s was a man named Johnny Stompanato. Stompanato was Mickey Cohen's bodyguard. In 1957, while Turner was filming in London, Stompanato stormed the set and pulled a gun on her co-star Sean Connery, suspecting an affair. Scotland Yard deported him. In April 1958, after a violent argument at Turner's home in Beverly Hills, her 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, picked up a kitchen knife and stabbed Stompanato to death. She was protecting her mother. The coroner's jury ruled it justifiable homicide. Mickey Cohen held a press conference. He was furious. He released Lana Turner's private love letters to Stompanato to the press. Because even in grief, the mob knew how to use information as a weapon. The mob did not fall in Los Angeles because of heroic police work. It fell because of taxes. The same weapon that brought down Al Capone brought down Mickey Cohen. He was convicted of tax evasion, not murder, not extortion, not the dozen other crimes he had committed openly. and sentenced to federal prison. Because here is the truth about organized crime in Los Angeles. The LAPD was not fighting the mob. In many cases, it was working with them. That story belongs to the next episode. But before we leave the mob, one more thing. During the war between the mob and Hollywood's labor unions, a young actor named Ronald Reagan was the president of the Screen Actors Guild. Reagan worked closely with the mob-connected IATSE to fight what he called communist influence in the unions. Many historians believe this period, navigating between organized crime and political ideology in Hollywood, is what transformed Ronald Reagan from a political liberal into the conservative who would become the 40th president of the United States. The mob shaped American politics in ways nobody ever fully acknowledged. And then there is The Godfather. In 1953, Frank Sinatra desperately wanted the role of Maggio in the film From Here to Eternity. The role initially went to actor Eli Wallach. Then Wallach dropped out. Sinatra got the part. He won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. It revived his entire career. How did it happen? Nobody knows for certain. One version says Ava Gardner personally appealed to the producer's wife. Another version, the one that circulated through every Hollywood party, every studio backlot, every newspaper that dared whisper it, says that someone with mob connections had a persuasive conversation with producer Harry Cohen. No horse, no blood, just a conversation. But the rumor was so specific, so persistent, so widely believed in Hollywood that when Mario Puzo wrote The Godfather, he put it in the book. The character of Johnny Fontaine, a singer whose mob godfather gets him a career-saving role by making a producer an offer he cannot refuse. And the horse's head in the bed. Puzo never said it happened exactly that way. The director, Fred Zinnemann, called that specific detail pure invention and poetic license. But Sinatra believed everyone knew who Johnny Fontaine was. He was so furious that he threatened and verbally abused Puzo in a Hollywood restaurant in 1970. He sued the BBC in 1972 for suggesting he was the inspiration. He won. The rumors he could never kill, because the rumor was born in Hollywood, and Hollywood never forgets. In The Godfather was Bugsy Siegel. Both built Las Vegas casinos. Both were shot through the eye by the mob they served. Puzo never hid the inspiration. Siegel also borrowed money from Hollywood stars and never paid it back. He knew they would never dare ask. Mickey Cohen was released from prison in 1972. He went on television. He gave interviews. He was charming. In 1974, he became tangentially involved in the kidnapping of newspaper heiress Patty Hearst. He died in his sleep in Los Angeles on July 29, 1976. Stomach cancer, age 62. He was buried in Los Angeles, the city he had run for 30 years. In the summer of 2023, SAG-AFTRA, the union that represents every actor in Hollywood, went on strike. It was the first combined writers and actors strike since 1960. The union that went on strike in 2023 was born from the same labor movement that the mob had controlled in 1934. The Flamingo Hotel still stands in Las Vegas, still open, still taking money. The original structure is long gone, replaced by a modern hotel casino, but the name remains. Bugsy Siegel's name remains. And the next time you watch The Godfather, know that the horse's head happened, not in a movie, in Hollywood, in the city you have been watching us tell the story of. The mob didn't destroy Los Angeles. They built parts of it. And some of what they built is still standing. Next time, the police force that was supposed to stop all of this, and why it didn't. That's next on the Forgotten History of Los Angeles.